Hey guys, wanted to make a quick little video on this stupid, in my opinion, this banning of single-use plastic straws. I mean, it's just stupid all the way around. And on the surface, a lot of people are agreeing with it. They're like, oh, well, it as an environmental hazard, it gets in the ocean, kills animals, and all of this. Which, to a degree, that could be true, but there's a million and one other things that do, thousands of times worse than a straw, first of all. And the majority of people that use them, they're either at a restaurant or fast food, something like that, or, the 7-Eleven, whatever. And for one, I use straws at a restaurant because at least the straw being wrapped is going to be more sanitary than some of the cups, I would say, because you never know. But all this boils down to is control. It's just like socialism. They control every aspect of your life. And now it's going all the way down to something as simple as a straw. And I don't really know how to prove any of this. It's kind of hard, but I wouldn't be afraid to bet that some of the politicians that have been involved in getting these bans pushed through, they probably have some money tied up in some companies like this one here I'm going to show from eBay. There's numerous, but their Final Straw is the main company, and these are probably knockoffs, but nevertheless. You get a foldable straw, fits in a case, you get a little squeegee thing to clean it with, the whole deal. And they're, anywhere from $5 to $10. The videos that I saw that showed it in action said they were $30, but regardless. And there's not going to be any single-use Final Straw, collapsible drinking straw things. They're not going to be made in America. We know that. They'll be made in China. So it's one more thing that, to give some more money to the Chinese. And they want to be mad about our current administration and all of this. Tariffs on, metal and steel and aluminum and this and that. What do they think these straws are made out of? It's not going to solve a single thing. It's just something else to control people with. And it's completely just backwards way of, normal people's thinking. If you want to go after environmental stuff is one thing, but the left, that is one of their biggest, I'm going to say victories that they've had over the years, is getting control of the environmental aspect of everything. Because they can make everybody feel so sad. It's like the Sarah McLachlan commercials, talking about all the cruelty to animals and all that kind of stuff. I can hear the music playing, in my head, And it kind of makes me think the same thing. They use those same tactics on this kind of nonsense here. And it was San Francisco. It doesn't take effect, it says, till 2019. But the maximum penalty in San Francisco will be 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Seattle's already put one into play, and it's a $250 fine per use. And there's a lot of people that have handicaps or physical disabilities and things that's all they can use. A lot of elderly have problems, and all they can use are straws. And they even want to put in a stupid safety aspect of, well, this will be safer for kids because that collapsible Final Straw thing that I showed on the eBay listings is supposed to have a rubber end so it's safe. I mean, come on. We all grew up, without all this bubble wrap, stuff. I call it the bubble wrap, society. We all had straws as a kid. No big deal. Now I guess they'll have to ban juice boxes like those Capri Sun things and all that mess because they all have a straw right on the package, and that's single use. So it's ridiculous. If they want to do anything, why don't they figure out, and I know they can do it, they've shown ways that it can be done, but put recycling programs in place. In the long run, paying people to recycle would save more money and have more of an environmental impact for the good than any bans will. Because yes, you'll pay people when they bring their recyclable stuff, to the place. But look how much money that it takes to pass these laws, for people that fight to get these laws passed, people that fight to prevent them. All the nonsense paperwork that goes into effect, the manpower of enforcing said laws, all that mess, and it's not going to solve a thing. Take some of that same money, pay it back to the people to say, hey, if you recycle your whatever, then, we'll pay you, and everybody's happy. So it would work out a lot better in those aspects. And plus the recycling part of it, they could use a lot of the manufacturing. That would actually create more jobs. Because you got to hire, companies would open more recycling centers. They would hire more people. And they're actually some decent jobs, because in a lot of those cases, moving stuff around the yard, there's a large number of our population that, even for no fault of their own, we've got a lousy school system. A lot of people are not well trained in things, how to get a halfway decent job sometimes. But these type of jobs, manual physical labor, is always needed. They can do it. And, these recycling centers could have a lot of good jobs for people that others, for, different reasons, may not choose to do. So this whole straw ban, is just so much like communism. And there's one reason that these laws get passed. And I'm going to compare this to some gun laws like the NFA, with your short-barreled rifles and shotguns and silencers and all of that. And yes, it's called a silencer. But these stupid laws here are the same thing. It's all done with fear. That's why they put such large fines on everything. 6 months in jail, $1,000 fine. And I wouldn't be afraid to bet that nobody's going to get 6 months in jail and $1,000 fine for using a straw. I'm sorry, but I just can't see it. The reason it is it's fear. And if you want to stop these stupid laws, like the straw bans, or even something as big as the NFA, there's one way to do it, and only one way that I know of. You can run through all the bills and petitions through Congress and all that stuff you want to do. We've tried it. It don't work. The only way it's going to work, but it takes a collective effort. That's for every single person that is affected by it to non-compliance. But that doesn't work because you can never get everybody to go along. Like the NFA. If every single person that wanted a silencer said, hey, we're not submitting no more tax stamps, we're not fooling with none of your laws, we're done with it. And every single gun owner across the whole entire country would actually agree to say, forget it, we're going to do our thing. If you don't like it, tough, lock us all up. We're not afraid of you. Push back to the bully, and they will back down. But it takes every single person to push back. I mentioned it even in my area. We've had bad streets in my town forever. They done a pretty lousy job, but they did try to fix mine. And I made the comment to several of my neighbors, you want a good road here? You want everything to be nice? They're like, yeah, we'd love to have a new street. It's been 40 years. I said, all right, go from one end of the street to the other, east to west, and get every single homeowner, every person that owns a house, whether it's a landlord or the actual homeowner lives there, to sign a petition and submit it to the city and say, look, you don't fix our road the way it should be, not a single one of us is going to pay our property taxes. I guarantee you, if you have that notarized in legal format, they would have had a perfect road down here in no time. They'd have been scrambling to have our road fixed. But too many people said, oh no, we can't do that. They'll take my home. I've lived here for, 30 plus years or whatever. I can't afford to have my home taken. I said, you've already lost. Fear has won out. But it will not work. Like I said, if one person holds out and is willing to go along with a straw ban, pay their $200 tax for their silencer, pay their property taxes like normal. One homeowner does it, then the whole entire plan, falls apart and will not work. It takes every single person together. And that's the only way we can fight back against these laws. And it's called peaceful non-compliance or peaceful disobedience. But you have to, like I said, get every single person involved. And nowadays that's next to impossible, but that, in my opinion, is the only way I can see any of these, unnecessary laws to ever go away. You can fight it in Congress, City Hall, whatever, but there's too many people out there with too much money that you'll never win in that aspect. But when they realize that nobody's going to follow it, it'll go away. Look at some of the states on the East Coast where they've had the bump stock bans, and they've come out and said not one single person has actually turned one in. And people still own them. But guess what? Not a single person has went to jail either. They've never knocked doors. They've never went and grabbed anybody and thrown him in jail, because every single person there refused to turn it in. It was a collective. Now, if you would have had a handful of people turn them in, they would have had a big crackdown, and they would have went and looked for them. Guaranteed. They would have found out if you had one, and you would have got fined, jail, whatever. But since every single person said, screw you, I'm keeping what I got, I paid for it, if you don't like it, go pound sand. Well, even though it may still be on the books as illegal, they're not enforcing it. They're not doing anything about it because there's nothing they can do. So keep that in mind. I'm not telling anybody to be a lawbreaker, but peaceful non-compliance or peaceful disobedience is the only way to stop any of this. So kind of pass that thought along to everybody you can, because if something crazy gets passed in your area, that's the only way to get rid of it, guaranteed. So I just wanted to throw that out there to kind of give people my perspective on this straw ban and, other things that are very similar. It's just complete nonsense and another way for somebody to have control over you and try to make some money, while they're at it. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. So appreciate all the support on the channel. If you could, give the video a thumbs up, share it with anyone you can, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, because you never know when I could make another video or go live. So I hope everybody has a good rest of your evening, and I will catch you guys on the next stream. Always appreciate the support. Thanks, guys.